Well, hi friends. Today is June 2nd, so let's see what Spirit will have for us this week. This past weekend was a little challenging for me, and yesterday I went and visited my dad, and it really puts things into perspective, on what's truly important. And I can't stress enough, spend time with those you love and tell them that you love them often. Okay. All right. Let's see what Spirit would have for us. First card out is the Whip. Yeah, that's our challenge. And then we've got the Fox. The Fox, that's our little trickster energy, but it's also our career card, partnerships card, people that we can work with, or that are in our day-to-day. And then we've got the Crossroads. The Crossroads is, that's your choices, your decisions, kind of what I just said, make your decisions based off of what's truly important, not, maybe for, the short term, but, for your long-term involvements, okay? Then we've got the Tower. Ooh. And then we have the House, and then we have the Anchor, and then we have the Dog, and then we have the Birds. So those are our friends, our loyal partners, friendships, family, and what's important, obviously, is the Tower in the center. So, I don't know how the cards know, but actually it's probably me bringing it out into the cards. Which is kind of what reality is. Reality is shaped by our thoughts. So if you can keep your thoughts as pure as possible, then you're going to shape the reality that you wish to shape. I can't explain it. It just happens. So maybe it's, maybe that I'm more aware and, call me crazy. I don't care. But the cards just know, or I just know, one of the two, okay? Next card out is the Moon. The Moon, the Man, the Book, the Key, the Scythe, the Sun, the Stork, the Bear, and the Garden. The Garden is your shared involvements, your maybe socializing, but it's also a place where I find very special, my garden. So I think that this is probably what Spirit is wanting me to explain to you as well. If you can get quiet, if you can get into your, it doesn't have to be a garden, obviously. It can be, wherever, out in nature, but find your equilibrium, your the point in which things are balanced. You don't want your emotions way up here and you don't want them way down here. You have to find common ground, okay? And that's what the garden is. The garden is that common ground area where we all come together, we all meet, we all network, we enjoy each other's company, okay? The Bear, that's significant. That is, people who are more of significance to you. Just think of the bear. The bear is that mother nurturer. Obviously, our mothers are important to us, but it's a significant, individual that plays an important role in your life. Okay. And then the Gentleman. The Gentleman is obviously it's, could be a male figure in your life that's important to you. The Bear signifies a parent. So could be a father figure in this case for me. But for you, it might be a significant male. It could be a significant male, whether it's your boss, it could be your child, it could be your friend, it could be several meanings there. But the Scythe in the center, that's a change. So this could mean, a change in a lifestyle, a change in a group setting, a change in, it could also be an event too, places that we all come together. And that's the key is the green light. The key is the solutions. The key above that is the book, which is the key to knowledge. That's what life is. It's a series of events that we created based on our own experiences and knowledge. So, that's why grandparents kind of have that wisdom, but children also have an imagination. And children can develop their reality based on their thoughts, things that come into creation from their own imaginations, okay? Because the reason why I'm saying imaginations would be the moon. The moon is that creative energy. So our thoughts become things. We do create our own realities. So I just need for you to be mindful of that, okay? Then we've got the stars. Then we've got the child. Then we've got the fish. Then we've got the mountain, the lilies, the clover, the tree, the ring, and the clouds. Now the clouds, those are your thoughts, okay? So keep your thoughts as pure as possible. I do see the mountain there, which that can be stagnant, stuck energy, coupled with the lilies. And the lilies is your, it's your lifestyle. It's your, it's all of those virtuous types of characteristics as well. And, that's the purity card to me. So, it's just reiterating what I just said. And then the clover is, that's your blessings, and then the tree, that's your healing energy. That's your health. And then the child, we come into this world healthy, well, I mean, I can't say that 100%, but in all reality, it would be, a fresh slate, for example. So, how we treat our bodies, how we treat our thoughts, our people that we associate with, which, try to keep them as positive as possible, okay? But the mountain and the clouds and the child, that could be your head up in the clouds too much, okay? So too much of that is not good. We still have reality that we're dealing with, right? Kind of like, be in this world, but not of this world. Well, in order to function in this world, you have to participate. So you can't be, spending too much time in that, place where you're, not interacting with others. Okay. It's kind of lonely at the top, feel. Yeah. You still need to come back down and participate. So, but be mindful of the people that you participate with. All right. Then we have the rider, the mice, the woman, the flowers, the letter, the snake, the cross, the heart, and the cloud. Oh, I put the coffin in the wrong spot. And the coffin is that transformational energy, okay? And then we've got the flowers next to the coffin, and then we've got the mice. So that right there tells me that there is something that's going to be opening up. It is beautiful, a beautiful flower arrangement with the coffin. That could be, possibly a funeral, obviously, but it's also transformational energy. And then there's the heart up in the corner. That would be something that brings you joy and passion. The snake is there, which that's another transformational card. Transformational, they shed their skin. The coffin is, life and death. There's only two dates, the day we're born and the day we die. And in that time, there's a parentheses, right? That's our life. How we live our life is completely dependent on our thoughts and our, following our hopes and our dreams. So dream big would be my advice. Not delusional. I'm just saying be mindful. There is a difference, okay? All right. When I start these readings, I have no idea what I'm gonna, what the cards are gonna say. But then when they come out, it's like, those are the things that, obviously we need to talk about, or, it's gonna help someone, not everyone. Not everything is gonna resonate, okay? Now, the bottom left-hand corner is the ship, okay? The bottom right corner are the mice. Those mice can be challenging. They're not as difficult as that whip, though, that came out first. So that would be challenges, okay? Things that might even be a little, little nuisances, okay? I know that, it'd be nice if we could go through life without challenges, but it's those challenges that help us learn and grow, right? And if we're not growing, we're basically dying. So, and when we start out as children and then towards the end, it is kind of a reverse process where, we find ourselves reverting back to, our youth, whether it's reminiscing or, the elderly, they end up in, wheelchairs and walkers again. So, life is bittersweet, it's hard. And if it wasn't hard, it means we wouldn't, for me anyways, if I didn't care, I wouldn't be upset or any of those things if I didn't care so much, the things that I find passion in, which, my friendships, my family, my career, all of that is very important to me. So obviously I'm going to take some things a little more personal. All right, so the upper left-hand corner is the bear, and then we've got that snake. They're not natural enemies either. They actually work quite well together, and it's finances, and it would be wise finances, So, saving for a rainy day, saving for your retirement. The lilies are in the middle, which is that longevity lifestyle card, which indicates, retirement, okay? Now, your home is also in that focal point, okay? So that could be transformational energy with the home, so either remodeling, restructuring, it could be things might be falling apart. So we just need to maybe, keep on top of some house repairs, okay? And maybe refab or, that feeling to it. Could be prefab too, those are be like your manufactured types of homes, okay? I see the bird there. The bird that's kind of another change card as well. That's kind of in that mix, but it's also kind of like migratory. So it could be a change of a house as well. Okay. I know I've been in my home now for 10 years and it's going to be really challenging if I ever have to leave it. But, I do know that, every home that I've ever moved up and onto has always been, a forward movement. Okay. I'm on the lake now and I can see the lake. My next move, I'd love for it to be on the lake, but not necessarily because I don't want those high taxes, but, the ship and the mice, that can be a little bit of a bumpy road. So I want people to be a little more cautious when they're out on the road. If you can avoid any, pitfalls and, try to steer clear, watch out for, you can be the best driver in the world. You still have to look out for the other guy. Okay. So yeah, I kind of see that. So just be careful out on the roads. Okay. What else do I see? I do see spiritual protection again, which I love. The cross is there, the clover and the sun. You can't ask for a better combination there. But the tree is in the center, which is that healing energy. But it's next to that cross. So, I just have that feeling of, spiritual protection is there. Rejection is spiritual protection. And no weapon formed against you will cause you any harm, feel to it. So, just be rest assured there, okay? I do see a little bit of conflict and, maybe boundaries that have to be in place, or just maybe a safeguarding kind of feel to it. Let's see what else. I just feel like, you're being protected too, but let's see. Travel. I see travel, maybe booking some plans. And I see, with people that are either your family, your close friendships, because the heart is there next to the dog. And I see conversations, pleasant conversations in the garden. So let's have some garden parties. It could be wedding. It could be because the tower's there. That's kind of official in nature. It could be a birthday. It could be, that sort of feel to it. Let's see what else. The main focal though is your lifestyle. That's the lilies. You know, if you've been watching me for any time period, you know lilies can they're kind of my favorite card. I actually move them out into my garden, you know, during the nice days. So it has like 5 blooms on it right now with the 6th one popping up. So it likes it out in my garden. It must be that positive energy out there. Let's see what else. Yeah. Everything I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, I already said that. So it's actually confirming it in a couple locations. The crossroads is there. You know, that's our decisions. You know, they can be, you know, challenging, but rewarding. Okay. That's what life is. You know, it's not always easy, but, you know, it's kind of why I named my cards Je ne sais quoi, c'est la vie. You know, the je ne sais quoi means something very special that's not easily explained, such as life. So, all right, folks. Well, I hope you have a blessed week and take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.